the DOS effects and Dr. Dre. Other rap, R&B, and Mish was my mama played. I never knew beats were sampled. It's too reinvented P-Funk back when MTV was a decent channel. Before riggedy wreck mics and miggity made beats. Living in safe streets with no particular need.
My name is Sabina Tapia. I'm 17. I'm finishing my last year of high school, and Boston is the city where I was born. I sit on the Boston Student Advisory Council. Every year, the City Council allocates $1 million in subsidies for the projects that we as citizens care most about. We've invested this year in sustainable development. Our city is cutting edge when it comes to this, and that's no accident. Boston was founded nearly 400 years ago at the mouth of the Charles River. Lately, we've been facing a lot of climatic changes, like rising sea levels and an increase of superstorms and hurricanes. By 2100, Boston could become the next Venice of North America. So Boston's getting prepared.
The view here can tell you so much about Boston. It's been very fortunate, and our founding fathers are very smart. They picked a very safe harbor. As sea level rises and the climate changes, it's going to challenge Boston, especially where the city has filled. And like many old cities, much of downtown Boston was created by bringing land and filling in shallow waters and marshes. These areas were filled, but not very high. And in the future, and we forecast by 2100 that there'll be about 5 feet of sea level rise. These areas are going to be underwater. They'll be underwater twice a day in the beginning, and then eventually they'll just always be underwater. And so Boston needs to figure out how to change and how to adapt to sea level rise in particular. The good news is we have projects that are helping us figure out what are the right things to do. This is Spaulding Rehab Hospital, so it's a recovery hospital for patients after an incident or after surgery. But it's really our favorite example of buildings that are beginning to adapt to climate change.
So many of the strategies which were incorporated into the design and development of this hospital were lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Sandy. Rather than keep a cogeneration system on the ground floor, which is where most hospitals have it today, we moved it up to the top floor, the penthouse, and that was to protect it from a flood should it occur. We raised the ground floor and parking to 19 feet, which is above the 100-year flood line. Rooftop garden serves 3 purposes. It's additional insulation, it protects against any flooding during very large storms and a lot of rainwater fall, and it also improves the air quality.
This hospital gives you a glimpse of what Boston might become like within the next 50 or even 100 years. In fact, we've even launched our architecture competition called Living with the Water. The purpose of this project was to stimulate local architects and possibly draw the outlines for a flooded Boston. This year, the Architect Design Group won one section of the competition with their project Re-D Boston 2100.
The basis for the competition was how does a city prepare itself for the global rise in sea level that we're expecting due to global warming. So we raised the entire district up to be above anticipated tide lines, and then used the space under the buildings that was created by rising it to provide thermal tanks. Here are those tanks under the buildings, you can see. The buildings are lifted up in the air. And those tanks are either made hot or cold by photovoltaic cells on the roof. So photovoltaics, they just sit there. They're very nice, these are all photovoltaics, but they don't do anything. So we came up with this idea of thermal jellyfish. And they're little islands that have tentacles like a jellyfish, and they're used to do heat transfer with the water from Fort Point Channel. So they can take cold out of the channel in the winter and use it actually to take heat out of the channel in the summertime. And then it's stored under the building.
As you can see, Boston is directly affected by climate change, and we haven't waited for the federal government's recognition of this threat. Since 2005, Boston has already reduced its emissions by 17%, and we aren't going to stop there. Our goal is to reduce our emissions by 25% at the year 2020 and by 80% by the year 2050. We, as Bostonians, have a reason to be proud. Boston is the most efficient city in the U.S. when it comes to terms of energy management.
Beautiful stained glass.
Oh, thank you. These are from England in 1893. So here we had all the lighting changed in here, saving us even more money. So the chapel is all LED lighting.
Anytime that you can reduce energy usage or make a place more energy efficient, that helps keep the air in our city healthier to breathe for all of our residents and businesses. The first step is doing an assessment either at a home or a business. Generally, the projects will be lighting upgrades, sometimes insulation, sometimes replacing a boiler, depending on the current status of that institution, business, or resident. The results are phenomenal. Typically, these projects will pay for themselves within the course of a year. The incentives can be between 70 and 90% of the total project cost. Right here at Pilgrim Church, their project is saving 27,000 kilowatt hours per year. To give you a sense of what that means, that's the equivalent of taking about 4 passenger vehicles off a road each year.
Reducing greenhouse gas also depends on our ability to be innovative. We need to create new ways of heating, new ways to get from point A to point B, and we need to create new tools. Now, Boston has a precious asset. We have over 100 of the most prestigious colleges and universities in the world. Some include MIT, Harvard, and Wentworth. So the city is working hard to create partnerships with these universities and colleges to motivate students and create initiative startups.
Over the years, we've worked extensively with a wide range of those different schools, working with researchers that are interested in working on hard urban problems that we can explore together and figure out what kinds of new solutions we can develop and deploy. So one of my favorite collaborations we did was SUFA, a next generation piece of city furniture. So it's a bench like you would see anywhere, except it has been designed to be also an online piece of hardware. So it has a charging station for your phone. Increasingly, they'll be adding new kinds of sensors, looking at air quality, sound quality, all these different things. It was a project that originally came to us from a graduate student, Sandra Richter, that she was developing at MIT, and she wanted to test as a prototype in a park. We were able to work with her. Since then, they have grown, and so they've incorporated a company called Changing Environments that has been selling SUFA as a product.
You might not see this from the sidewalk, but gardens are taking over the roofs of Boston. Local growers have taken to city roofs in order to grow food locally.
We are Boston's first rooftop farm. We started 3 years ago, so this is our third season. And we grow large variety, greens, herbs, and other vegetables, mostly for restaurants and retailers. And then we have our lease is on 1 1/8 acres of rooftop.
Okay.
We're only planted in a portion of it, but we have that potential to have, a larger volume.
The city benefits from this because we are reducing the need to import food, and we are also using these gardens to combat other climate-related issues.
We're at a very small scale here, but if you think about citywide, if you're adding green permeable space to cities, you're adding permeable surface area that can help with stormwater issues. So part of a green roof farm is that it will insulate in the winter, so you're using less energy. It cools a roof in the summer. And then you have the fact that plants are breathing carbon.
Now there's one last initiative that I absolutely have to show you. The Artists for Humanity provides a workspace and artistic career opportunities for Boston's youth. Now the unique part is the young people's workspace. They decided to use recycled materials like windshields and old crates to create their artistic workspace.
Now we're in the graphic design studio. The graphic design studio actually recently did a collaboration with Converse. They created shoes. A lot of their designs are actually on their shoes now that people are able to go get customized and pre-ordered. This is usually the place that anybody's able to go to like make t-shirt designs and everything like that. This right here is the photography studio of AFH. 1, 2. Growing up, I was always really artistic, so I was already really very interested in drawing, photographing for the most part. So I feel like because of that, finding this place kind of gave me a chance to like become more interested and kind of improve on what I really like to do. AFH really does care about our education, and for that, I feel like it's like kind of made me like think more about like working on my education here and kind of focusing both like on both fields I want to do.
Although Boston looks like a city in slumber, we're just beginning to awaken. Boston is my city, it's my home, and it's my future.